What's up, you beautiful Redditors? Hope you're having a fantastic Monday. Welcome to the RNEWS evening show. And let's just jump into it. From r/politics. To stop Trump, we need to vote in person, even if you have to crawl through broken glass. I'm delivering my ballot during early voting to the elections office, and on election day I'm working the polls, not messing with mailing it though. Hopping on the top comment. Most states have in-person early voting, so take advantages and cast your ballot early. Do not wait until election day to vote. You can check the status of your ballot in most states. Just Google, Bing. Check my ballot status in, enter state, quote, edit, adding another early voting source. Exactly, that's what I'm doing. I think in Ohio absentee ballots are counted first on election day. Make sure you tell every Democrat voter you know to do the same and pass it on. My wife has begged me not to work the polls over COVID this year, or I would be right there with you. I'm working the polls, no kids yet, and my wife is supportive of the decision. Stay safe. You're watching the RNEWS show. From r/news. South Carolina police officer fired after seen on video using N-word. If he had just shot the guy instead of yelling at him, he'd still have a job. This is so depressingly true. Frankly, SC has a better track record than a lot of places for firing and charging officers who murder people. What a weird sentence to write. When a full 1/3 of your population is black, there's much less tolerance for open racism from police. And it's not even a large city thing. A lot of small towns out in the boonies are majority or near majority black. Many descendants of slaves who had nowhere else to go upon emancipation. This state has a lot of problems, but race relations are fairly amicable in my experience. I grew up in the South and thought it was way too freaking racist. Still do for what it's worth. But then I got older and traveled more and lived all over America. And realized that there are far more racist regions in America that get a pass just because they might not have owned slaves there 150 years ago. In the South, you at least live and work and go to school around black people. That's enough to temper the racism of a lot of white folks. The Midwest, though, a lot of those people have never had a conversation with a black person, and take the worst and least accurate stereotypes of them as gospel truth. And do we even need to talk about the inland Northwest? The South may have the most racist history, but I think other regions hold the title of most racist at present. You're watching the RNEWS show. From r/World News. Trump on Putin, critic Alexei Navalny's poisoning. We haven't had any proof yet. Just as a reminder, with this simple comment, Trump has spent more time defending Putin over this poisoning than he has condemning Putin over the Russian bounties on American troops. Trump spent more time on his Obama birther claims than on all statements he has ever made defending human rights and criticizing racism. On a related note, before he was president, he also spent more time defending the Tiananmen Square massacre and the Chinese Communist Party. When the students poured into Tiananmen Square, the Chinese government almost blew it. Then they were vicious, they were horrible, but they put it down with strength. That shows you the power of strength. Our country is right now perceived as weak, as being spit on by the rest of the world. So in Trump's defense, he'd likely be defending enemies of democracy and America, even if he wasn't compromised. It is what it is. I would like to point out that Trump has probably spent more time defending the Tiananmen Square massacre than the Chinese Communist Party. The party knows it looks bad and simply denies it happened. Trump, on the other hand, thinks it shows strength. Weird, because his own National Security Council was pledging to track down the people in Russia responsible for the poisoning not too long ago. It's almost funny how Republicans can still get behind this man, whose is obviously now entirely up Putin's bunghole. You're watching the RNEWS show. From r/World News. Senegal's quiet COVID success. Test results in 24 hours. Temperature checks at every store. No fights over masks. This is what happens when you have living generations that remember what infectious diseases looked like. Wait, WTF are you talking about? I'm Senegalese, and your comment sounds condescending as hell. It's not because we remember what an infectious disease is like. We've always treated them seriously and listened to scientists' guidelines. Ebola actually left us almost untouched, save for a few imported cases. The little success we've had is because we believe in science and follow its lead. Just because it's been clear that many developed countries are anti-science doesn't mean that simply being logical is out of reach for us. Edit. Really didn't expect this reaction. Thanks for the awards. Since I don't want this to be yet another useless awards speech. Edit. Here's a link to a Reddit post about how Senegal handled the AIDS crisis. Reddit.com. Basically, our president at the time sat down with doctors and went, "You guys are the experts. Tell us what to do." And a society that acts as a unit. It helps that the government and the president don't make this political. That's one of the things I'm proudest about Portugal. In the beginning of the pandemic, you had the president of a major opposition party saying loud and proud that they'd be there to help the party in power navigate this pandemic, and that they do everything in their power to aid and assist them. Nothing was political. Everyone acted as if they were on the same page. What's it like having adults in charge? It's Lord of the Flies over here. You're watching the RNEWS show. From r/news. Hospitalized B.C. COVID-19 patient speaks out, "Just because I'm old doesn't mean I want to die. Hell, I am 36 and in good shape. I don't want to get sick for 2 weeks. I don't have health insurance or sick pay." People act like having 10% of your population just getting sick is acceptable is as mind-boggling as the death toll acceptance. It's the largest case of denial I've ever seen. The COVID virus is 10 times as deadly as influenza. We are well on our way to 300,000 dead before Christmas and people just shrug. It burned through my entire office in February before we knew it was stateside. Everyone survived. No lasting effects we know of. No hospitalizations. We all had paid sick leave and insurance. It was freaking horrendous. Even if that was the worst COVID could do, I still wouldn't want to go through it again. Way worse than the flu. It took months to regain my lung function. With several co-workers in the same boat, I healed slightly faster than others, which I attribute to coughing up a bronchial cast. Please don't Google image search that, which immediately made it easier to breathe. All you can do is lay there in pain and expend all of your focus on trying to breathe. You lose urinary continence. You cough up so much phlegm I had to keep a cup by my bedside. And all I could keep down was Gatorade and Sambucol. Bronchial cast, holy crap. I just looked this up and that's freaking brutal. It's literally a mold of your lung tubes made of mucus and blood. Jesus Christ. You're watching the RNEWS show. From r/World News. As world leaders condemn Russian aggression, Trump says he and Putin get along. If Putin really has nothing on Trump, he must be weirded out by his desire to always defend him. Lol, I've always wondered about this. Putin watching the TV, asking himself why TF this weird orange freak always wants to be on his good side. I mean, Trump clearly wants to be Putin, an autocratic war veteran with a six-pack riding a horse. An autocratic war veteran Trump on people who die for their country. Trump rejected the idea of the visit because he feared his hair would become disheveled in the rain, and because he did not believe it important to honor American war dead. Why should I go to that cemetery? It's filled with losers. Trump referred to the more than 1,800 Marines who lost their lives at Bellewood as suckers for getting killed. Plus he told his son he'd be disowned if he joined the military. Six-pack of large cokes from muckers. What if Trump craps himself during a debate? What happened? Depend. It's sad anyone doesn't realize he is compromised at this point. Why the frick would he be overly friendly to Russia constantly when he is a total prick to everyone else? Meanwhile, despite Trump literally showing himself for the traitor he is, Trump supporters think they are patriotic. Freaking morons. And that's where we're going to end today's show. But if you like what you saw, leave a like, and if you want to see more of the RNEWS show, hit that subscribe button. As always, this has been the RNEWS show and I'll see you tomorrow.